What is up guys, Killer-Jinn here, and this is a little bit of a different type of video when compared to my other Fortnite videos, but I need to get this off my chest, and a quick note before we get into the main video is that I need to clarify this. This is an elitist problem, and I can assume the change is positive to those who are below average players. Back in Season X, aka Season 10, they introduced skill-based matchmaking in an attempt to help less skilled players get wins, and in Chapter 2 they introduced bots to fill lobbies that couldn't be filled by normal players. Although this was and is a good change for the less good players, it makes the game hard to enjoy for any player who is at least above average. From having to sweat in every game they play to waiting in long queue times, this is what I have to say. Also, let me set this straight. I am not and do not consider myself a good player. When comparing my stats to those of the average player, I do sit above the average player in most categories, so I feel like I have some knowledge about this topic. But enough of that, let's finally get into the main point. The first and main point of the vid is that there isn't any place for an above average player to relax and have fun. I will run through most of the game modes and say what is good and bad about them, in my opinion at least. First, it's souls. In my souls bracket, queue times are not all that bad, as in 30 seconds on average, but has peaked at 2 to 3 minutes in the past, which, while it's still a pretty long time for a queue, not as bad as queues other people and content creators have to deal with. While talking about the actual gameplay experience, it can only be described as a swift-fest. For whatever reason, people try their absolute hardest in souls and are rather playing really smart and safe, i.e. in 1x1s, or playing really dumb and overly aggressive, i.e. pushing every player regardless of situation like the storm. And although they play this way for a reason, the overall problem with it is because everyone is trying so hard that trying to have fun in souls practically doesn't exist anymore. Next is duos and squads, which I'll lump into the same category because they suffer from the same problem. Doing fills is very hit or miss because you can rather get very good or very bad players, and if you're running with a friend, that's where the main problem comes in, and I'll run through where the issue is. If you are better than your friend or friends, skills-based matchmaking gets pulled up to the highest level, and your less skilled friends, quote unquote, don't have fun. If you and your friend are at the same skill level, then you both have to try your hardest to hopefully get a win. And if your friend is better than you, then you will be playing at a level where you cannot compete in. With souls being at the state that it is, you would assume that playing with your friends in duos or squads would be the easiest way to have fun, but because of skill-based matchmaking, that just isn't the case. Team Rumble, I find, is quite boring, and Arena is pretty self-explanatory. When talking about Playground, it is only really two things. Rather you do no fill and just explore the map, which I find personally boring and a waste of time, or you do fill, which is practically the place where everyone goes to do zone wars, which is fun and fine, don't get me wrong, just that's all Playground fill is. And when you're talking about creative, it can be fun playing maps or improving your building / editing by yourself, but it also is fun building against your friends to improve that way. Recently, LTMs, also known as limited time modes, have been added, and while they are a great change of pace, the presence of skill-based matchmaking in those modes makes it really hard to enjoy the change of pace the LTM brings. Unfortunately, in the current state of Fortnite, creative is the only place for an above average player to sit back and have fun, that, to me at least, is somewhat sad to think about, that out of 10 plus game modes, one is fun for a player like me. Another issue that only really applies to some people is that there is crossplay enabled by default now. I don't really have a problem playing against PC players as a console player, but the fact that it is enabled by default is a bit annoying because I no longer have the choice of playing against others who have the same limitations as I do, like being capped at 60 FPS or having shadows, as an example. While this doesn't relate to the main topic of skill-based matchmaking, it does affect me and my enjoyment of the game. And that thing is that the state of the game on console, which for me means PlayStation. Although the state of the game is getting better, there is still a lot of things that could improve. For example, I deal with a constant audio issue ranging from desync to it not even happening, and there is nothing that I can do about it, which usually causes me to die and lose games. Although that isn't a direct reason for my disenjoyment for the game, it is something that does affect how much I can enjoy the game. Overall, I really do enjoy playing Fortnite. It's the only game that keeps me coming back day after day for the past 2+ years, and just disappointing to see that Epic Games is pushing the game to help the below average players, where the people who have been supporting the game the longest are the above average players, and they are getting punished for quote unquote being good. Well, I will still be playing the game on a weekly basis to see if skill-based matchmaking is going to be nice to me or not, I just wish we can go back to the old days back in season 3 or 4, where everyone was just screwing around and having fun, rather than trying their butts off in every game they get into. But I know that is an unrealistic dream for many reasons, but a dream nonetheless. In relation to the content I'm producing, it may or may not be affected. Although Fortnite highlights might be bi-weekly because I won't be playing as much, there might be other games I'll be playing on the side, and I'll probably be translating into uploading highlights of those games on the weeks where the Fortnite videos are not being posted. To those who are wondering, my Epic 7 content will be most likely unchanged from its regular schedule, so don't worry about that. This is the first ever scripted video, and I doubt there will be many more of these in the future. I'll be posting the whole script in the description just in case my points are unclear, or if you prefer to read it yourself rather than listening to me say it, as well as just me being unclear. Following this right now, I'll be playing the highlights I have collected throughout this week. Hopefully you enjoy and stick around for more content from me. And now we will be moving into the highlights.
How can I miss that shot? Oh my god. Only you would get that shot in. Hey, no, I never get a shot in. Why did I hit that? Malky dies again. If I die, I'm gonna be pissed. Oh, you're not doing it. I hate the fucking stairs! Fuck this game, I'm leaving. You win, okay, you win. I'm playing some games. This is games, man. Fuck this shit.
They're both cracked.
Yeah, I can go at them with a shotty.
We can get the card.
I can actually use that.
Crack the other guy. That guy got shit on. Would I be surprised? No. I'm sorry, what? And I can't sprint? I thought I had mats. No.